You were told that hitting six figures was the finish line, the golden ticket to a life of comfort in the Great White North. But today, $100,000 in Canada feels like the new $50,000. While you're checking your banking app at 2 a.m., wondering where it all went, the system is working exactly as intended. There's a shadow fact no one tells you. Canada has become a high-tax society with a low-growth reality. We're paying Scandinavian-level taxes for American-style costs, with a productivity level that's lagging behind the rest of the G7. You're not crazy, and you're definitely not alone. But there is a specific reason why your neighbor with the new F-150 and the detached home in Oakville is actually drowning in secret. And it's not just inflation. It's something much more structural, something that started decades ago and is finally reaching its breaking point. If you feel like you're running on a treadmill that's speeding up while your legs are getting heavier, this is why. But the real question is, how much of your struggle is actually your fault? And how much is a calculated feature of the current Canadian economy?
Let's talk about this six-figure mirage. In the 90s, earning $100K meant you were elite. Today, after the CRA takes its mandatory 30 to 40% cut, you're left with roughly $6,000 a month in most provinces. Now let's subtract the average GTA or GVA rent of $2,700. Add in a $600 car payment, $200 for insurance, because Canada has some of the highest rates in the world, and $150 for a phone and internet plan that's basically a duopoly tax. Before you've even bought a single loaf of bread, half your income is vaporized. This is the visceral squeeze. It's the feeling of being rich on paper, but poor at the checkout counter. You're working 40, 50, 60 hours a week for a lifestyle that your parents secured on a single blue-collar salary. The gap between your effort and your reward has never been wider. But here's the kicker. The government's inflation numbers say things are up 3%, but your grocery bill says something entirely different. Why is there such a massive disconnect between the official data and your empty wallet? The answer lies in the one place every Canadian hates to visit lately.
Welcome to the grocery gauntlet. Walking into a Loblaws or Sobeys feels like a high-stakes heist, where you're the victim. We've all seen it. The $8 bag of grapes, the $15 pack of chicken breasts, the shrinkflation that makes your favorite cereal box look like a sample size. Canada's grocery sector is dominated by a handful of players who have successfully turned a basic human need into a profit machine. While the Bank of Canada hikes rates to cool the economy, the price of butter doesn't seem to care about interest rates. This is the emotional pain of the modern Canadian. The realization that even if you cut out the Starbucks and the Netflix, you're still barely treading water because the cost of existing has been monopolized. You're not just paying for food, you're paying for the lack of competition. And while you're debating whether to buy organic or generic, there's another silent killer eating your wealth before it even hits your bank account. It's the one partner in your business that never does any work but takes the biggest cut, the CRA. The Canadian tax system was designed for a different era. Today, bracket creep is the silent thief. As inflation pushes nominal wages up, you're pushed into higher tax brackets, even though your actual purchasing power hasn't increased. You get a 5% raise, but the CRA takes 40% of that raise, and inflation takes the rest. You're effectively earning less by earning more. This is why the middle class feels stuck. We have one of the highest personal income tax burdens in the developed world, yet our healthcare wait times are exploding and our infrastructure is aging. You're paying for a premium service and receiving a budget experience. This creates a psychological weight, a feeling of resentment every time you see that net pay figure. And for those trying to save, the TFSA and RRSP are great tools, but they're often used incorrectly, or worse, they aren't enough to outpace the sheer velocity of the cost of living. But even if you master your taxes, there's a giant 2,500 square foot elephant in the room that is currently crushing the dreams of an entire generation. Housing in Canada isn't just an asset anymore, it's a cult. For decades, we were told that a home was the safest investment. Now, it's a barrier to entry that requires a generational transfer of wealth just to afford a condo. The average house price in Canada has decoupled from local wages so violently that the math no longer makes sense. If you didn't buy before 2015, you're essentially paying a latecomer tax that lasts 25 to 30 years. And for those who did buy, the Bank of Canada's recent rate hikes have turned home ownership into bank ownership. Variable rate holders are seeing their amortization stretch to 70 or 90 years, literally longer than their remaining lifespan. This is the mortgage cliff. The visceral fear that when your 5-year fixed term renews, your monthly payment will jump by $1,500. Where does that money come from? It comes from your retirement, your kids' education, and your sanity. The Canadian dream has been replaced by a Canadian debt sentence. But why is our housing so much more expensive than our neighbors to the south? It's not just supply and demand. It's something hidden in our immigration and zoning laws.
Let's look at the shadow debt. Most Canadians don't just have a mortgage, they have a HELOC, a home equity line of credit. For years, we used our rising home values as an ATM to fund the lifestyle our salaries couldn't afford. New cars, renovations, trips to Mexico, it was all free money because the house was doing the work. But now the ATM is out of order, and it's asking for the money back with interest. This reliance on debt is the dark secret of the well-off Canadian. We look wealthy, but we are 1 or 2 missed paychecks away from total insolvency. The stress of maintaining this facade is leading to a national burnout. We are working more hours than ever, but our real wealth, our net worth adjusted for the cost of living, is stagnating. This is why you feel broke. You're servicing a debt-based lifestyle in a high-interest world. And the worst part? The safety net we were promised, the CPP and OAS, is looking increasingly fragile as the worker-to-retiree ratio collapses. You are truly on your own, yet you're paying like you're part of a collective.
Then there's the Canadian monopoly tax. It's not just groceries. It's your phone bill, which is among the highest in the world because of the Rogers-Bell-Telus triad. It's your banking fees, because our big 5 banks are some of the most profitable in the world, largely by charging you for the privilege of holding your money. It's the dairy commission that keeps milk and cheese prices artificially high. Everywhere you turn, a Canadian institution is taking a small bite. Individually, these bites are annoying. Collectively, they are a feast, and you are the main course. This is the death by 1,000 cuts that prevents the middle class from building actual liquid wealth. We are a nation of house-rich and cash-poor citizens, trapped in a cycle of high expenses and protected industries that face zero competition. This lack of competition doesn't just raise prices, it kills innovation. Why would a Canadian company innovate when they have a captured market? This is the shadow fact. Canada isn't a free market. It's a collection of protected fiefdoms, and you're the serf.
The brain drain is the next logical step in this story. When a young engineer in Waterloo or a nurse in Halifax looks at the math says, leave. Why stay in a city where a starter home costs 12 times your salary when you can move across the border and pay half the tax for double the pay? We are losing our brightest minds because we've made it impossible for them to build a life here. This creates a feedback loop. As the talent leaves, the economy slows down. The government raises taxes on those who stay to cover the gap, and more people leave. The disappearing middle class isn't just a slogan, it's a demographic exodus. If you've ever looked at a house in Texas or North Carolina and felt a pang of jealousy, you felt the brain drain. We are trading our future for high real estate prices today. But there's an even deeper psychological toll. It's the feeling of betrayal. The feeling that you did everything right, went to school, got the job, saved your money, and the goalposts were moved while you were running.
Let's talk about the lifestyle creep versus economic creep. Lifestyle creep is when you buy a nicer car because you got a raise. Economic creep is when you keep the same car, the same apartment, and the same habits, but you're still $400 shorter at the end of the month. Most Canadians are suffering from economic creep. We are being gaslit into thinking we are spending too much, when the reality is that the baseline cost of a dignified life has exploded. The 40-hour workweek was originally designed to support a family of 4, a home, and a vacation. Today, 2 people working 40 hours each can barely afford a 2-bedroom condo in Mississauga. This is the visceral pain of the modern worker. The exhaustion isn't just physical, it's the mental load of constantly calculating. Can we afford the good eggs this week? Should I skip the dentist to pay the hydro bill? This constant low-level survival mode prevents us from thinking long-term. It keeps us small. It keeps us compliant. But what if there was a way to break the cycle? What if the first step to winning was admitting the game is rigged?
The comparison trap in Canada is fueled by debt.
You see your friends on Instagram at a winery in Kelowna or a bistro in Montreal, and you think, how are they doing it? The shadow fact? They probably aren't. They're likely using their line of credit to fund a life they can't afford, hoping the housing market will bail them out eventually. This social credit system we've built, where status is tied to consumption rather than production, is a house of cards. When the wind of high interest rates blows, the cards start to fall. We are seeing it now, a record number of consumer insolvencies and a surge in for sale signs. The broke feeling you have might actually be your greatest asset. It's your brain telling you that the current path is unsustainable. While others are doubling down on debt, the few who see the middle-class mirage for what it is can begin to pivot. But pivoting requires something most Canadians are afraid of, doing something different than the herd. It means questioning the safe path of homeownership at any cost. The childcare crisis is another weight on the Canadian neck. Even with the promise of $10 a day daycare, the wait lists are years long. For many families, one parent's entire salary goes directly to childcare, meaning they are essentially working for free just to keep their career alive. This is the parenting tax. It forces families into impossible choices. Do we have a second child and go into debt, or do we stop at one? This is a fundamental shift in the Canadian fabric. We are becoming a nation that can't afford its own future. The emotional toll of not being able to provide the same childhood you had for your own kids is a silent epidemic. It leads to a sense of failure, even when the failure is systemic. We are told Canada is the best place to raise a family, but the spreadsheet says otherwise. As we move further into this decade, the gap between the asset class, those who own property and stocks, and the labor class, those who trade time for money, will only widen. Which one are you?
Let's look at the energy tax. Heating your home in a Canadian winter shouldn't be a luxury, yet with rising carbon taxes and utility costs, the bill is becoming a significant portion of the monthly budget. Whether you agree with the policy or not, the visceral reality is that it's more expensive to stay warm. And because Canada is a massive, spread-out country, we are forced to drive. We don't have the high-speed rail of Europe or the density of Asia. We are car-dependent by design, and that design is getting expensive. Carbon taxes, insurance, maintenance, and the ever-fluctuating price at the pump, it's all part of the cost of being Canadian. We are taxed on the very things we need to survive our climate and geography. This is why a $100,000 salary in Toronto feels so much smaller than a $100,000 salary in Chicago or Dallas. The location premium for living in Canada has become a location penalty. But we stay. Why? Because we love this country. But loving a country shouldn't mean accepting its economic decline. We need to talk about the productivity paradox. The productivity paradox is simple. Canadians are working harder, but the economy isn't getting richer. Our GDP per capita is falling. This means that while the total economy might be growing due to high immigration, the individual slice of the pie is getting smaller. We are all fighting over a shrinking pizza. This is why you feel like you're doing more but getting less. The investment in Canada isn't going into new technologies, factories, or businesses. It's going into unproductive assets, mostly residential real estate. We are essentially trading houses to each other and calling it an economy. This doesn't create wealth, it just moves it around, usually from the young to the old. This is the intergenerational theft that no politician wants to address. If we don't start investing in things that actually produce value, the middle class will continue to dissolve into a new class, the working poor with degrees, the professional broke. It's time to stop looking at the official numbers and start looking at the reality of our streets. The subscription economy has hit Canada harder than most. It's not just Netflix. It's everything as a service. From your car's heated seats to your software, you no longer own anything, you just rent it. This creates a fixed cost floor that is incredibly high. In the past, if you had a bad month, you could cut back. Today, your fixed costs, rent, insurance, utilities, subscriptions, interest, are so high that you have no flex in your budget. One emergency, one car repair, or one dental bill can send a well-off family into a tailspin. This is the one emergency reality. Most Canadians are $200 away from not being able to meet their monthly obligations. This precariousness is the opposite of the middle-class security our parents knew. The safety net is now a tightrope, and we are walking it without a harness. This is the visceral pain of the 40-hour work week.
the realization that your security is an illusion. But why is the government telling us everything is fine? Because their metrics are outdated.
The inflation calculation is the ultimate gaslight. The Consumer Price Index, CPI, excludes or adjusts for the things that matter most. When the price of a steak goes up, the CPI assumes you'll buy hamburger meat instead. This is called substitution. It means the official inflation rate reflects a declining standard of living, not the actual cost of maintaining your current one. If you feel like your money is worth 20% less than it was 3 years ago, you're right, even if the official number says 10%. This is the shadow fact that keeps people confused. You think you're bad with money, but in reality, your money is being devalued by design. To survive this, you have to stop thinking in dollars and start thinking in purchasing power. A $100,000 salary is just a number. What matters is what that $100,000 can buy. In many Canadian cities, it buys a life of just getting by. To thrive, you need to step outside the traditional Canadian path. You need to look at global income, tax efficiency, and asset diversification. The intergenerational gap is creating a two-tier Canada. Tier 1, those who bought property before 2010 or have an inheritance. Tier 2, everyone else. This wealth gap is the largest in Canadian history. It's creating a feudal system where your success isn't determined by your hard work or your good salary, but by who your parents are. This is the ultimate emotional pain for a meritocratic society. We were told that if we studied hard and worked hard, we would succeed. But today, a high school dropout who bought a bungalow in Scarborough in 1985 is wealthier than a PhD scientist renting in the annex. This unearned wealth for some and unavoidable poverty for others is tearing the social contract apart. It leads to apathy, resentment, and a loss of national identity. What does it mean to be Canadian if you can't afford to live in Canada? This is the question a whole generation is asking, and the answer they're getting is a shrug from Ottawa. But there is a way to fight back, and it starts with your mindset.
The retirement lie is the next shoe to drop. The traditional Freedom 55 dream is dead. Most Canadians in their 30s and 40s today are looking at freedom never. With the cost of living so high, saving the recommended 15% of your income feels like a sick joke. If you manage to save anything, it's being eaten by management expense ratios, MERS, from the big banks, which are among the highest in the world. You're working for your money, then your money is working for the bank. This is why the faceless millionaire next door is no longer a thing in Canada. The new millionaire is the person who moved their money out of the Canadian oligopoly and into global markets. The relatable life of a Canadian involves realizing that our national pride shouldn't extend to our investment portfolios. You need to be a global investor to survive a local crisis. But how do you start when you're already exhausted from the 40-hour grind? It starts by closing the open loops in your life. The mental health cost of being professional broke is staggering. Financial stress is the leading cause of divorce and anxiety in Canada. When you're earning what should be a great salary, but you're still stressed about the cost of a car tire, it creates a cognitive dissonance. You feel like a failure, even though you're doing everything right. This internalized economic pain is what keeps the system going. People are too tired and too ashamed to demand change. They think it's a personal failing rather than a systemic one. We need to break the silence. We need to admit that the middle class is being hollowed out. Only then can we start to make the hard choices, moving to a lower-cost province, starting a side hustle that earns USD, or aggressively optimizing every tax dollar. The relatable Canadian experience right now is a mixture of quiet desperation and a hope that things will return to normal. But normal isn't coming back. A new normal is being built, and it's one where you have to be your own central bank.
So what's the exit strategy? It's not about waiting for the government to fix it. It's about financial sovereignty. It's about realizing that a good salary is no longer enough. You need multiple streams. In the Canadian context, that means maximizing your TFSA with high-growth U.S. equities, not just safe Canadian dividends. It means using your RRSP to lower your tax bracket and then reinvesting the refund, not spending it. It means looking at the shadow facts in every purchase. Is this car a tool or a status symbol I can't afford? Is this house a home or a debt trap? The people who are making it in Canada right now are the ones who have stopped playing the traditional game. They are the ones who have embraced the curiosity gap and looked for the opportunities that the monopolies haven't found yet. The middle class might be disappearing, but a new class is emerging, the economically aware. Those who understand that in a high-inflation, high-tax world, cash is trash, and knowledge is the only currency.
The ultimate shadow fact is this: Canada is still a land of opportunity, but the opportunity has changed its address. It's no longer found in a stable job and a 30-year mortgage. It's found in agility, global thinking, and financial literacy. The reason you feel broke is because you're playing by the 1995 rulebook in a 2024 world. The middle-class mirage is fading, but behind it is a reality where you can still thrive, if you're willing to see the world as it is, not as you were told it would be. You felt the pain, you've seen the gaps, and now you know the truth. The question is, what are you going to do with it? Are you going to keep running on the treadmill, or are you going to step off and build your own path? The Great White North is changing. Make sure you're the one holding the map. Because the biggest risk in Canada today isn't taking a chance. It's staying exactly where you are and hoping the system will save you. It won't, but you can. Subscribe and let's navigate.